Okay, any other announcements? Okay, John, did you have any updates on the Grape 2?
Not this week. No.
Perfect. And Kung is not here, so we'll go ahead and
He's busily working on stuff, but I have nothing to update.
and Bill is also not here. So skip this section.
Antenna project, that I could speak to that. Although they don't have much to say, right, really.
That's okay.
I don't I haven't really talked with Michael. I did send him a field probe, so he should have that to go and look at his antennas. I don't we haven't we've done nothing with additional antennas so far. So we're just sitting there with his set of antennas, and I don't think we've learned anything new about antennas in the last week. So we don't have new antennas to try. The that so I think that we were kind of in a little hiatus on the antenna project.
Well, I know there's ongoing progress happening. It's just we don't have any conclusions yet. But like I was able to finally get the LZ1AQ official preamp from Bulgaria. And that one not only has the loop preamp, but it does have a E-field preamp in it that I'm going to see how that compares.
I think that Michael was obtaining as
Yes, I think he ordered it at the same time I did, so he should have it by now too.
yeah. I don't know. I don't think he was seeing a big difference between the antennas he had already. So
Yeah, I have actually 3 different versions of the LZ1AQ from different sources. I'll be comparing those. And by the way, that is essentially an open source, so I presume if we actually wanted to lay one out for ourselves, it might be cheaper than getting it from LZ1AQ directly. It's a pretty complicated box, what he's got.
That was my recollection. I had one and deployed it briefly in Maui, and I found it was it had so many switches and options on it that I was just never had the time to really explore its capabilities. And I ended up with using a beverage there that worked better than anything.
Yeah, and what's his call sign? N4CY, I think. He has a version of it that's much simpler. Just plug it in and it runs. Where he's using very low noise transistors. And then there's the one that I'm actually currently using for the Grape 2. It's the Delicate Ports version, which seems to work well. All at various price points.
Yes, I guess I could have ordered one of those. I just ordered a couple of RX 888s for I blew up, I broke one of mine, and just a caution to anyone who's working with the 888. It seems like the printed circuit board is very fragile. So if you put any mechanical pressure on the printed circuit board, any significant pressure that might deform the board very slightly, it seems to break the solder balls on some of the on the FX3 a USB interface chip. So I managed to do that for a second time to an RX 888 that I was trying to prepare to go to to DP0 GVN. So I've had to order a couple more 888s. So
I think I may have mentioned this. I found one of mine a pressure sensitive 5351.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that the manufacturing quality of these of these 888s is the best. I really wish we could start making our own, so we had control, you know, and known provenance of the boards. Anyway,
I think that is the plan for,
it's been, yeah, I'm afraid that it feels to me like the pursuit of the multi-channel input version has stalled. I think they're waiting for the FX10 chip to be available so it can support multiple ADCs.
that may be the issue right there. It's just,
I think
we need to wait for that chip to do what we want it.
Yeah. Well, Phil Karn has agreed to that if I can get somebody to come up with a little stimulus transmitter that generates a pulse of appropriate source, that he would work on calibrating in software the multiple RX 888s. That if if the 888s have the same clock, of course, driven from the same clock, that in software he could compensate for any differences in the transmission chain to get them phase
Oh,
aligned.
yeah.
So that's something that I think I'm in terms of I'm turning my attention away from Whisper Demon software and toward the rest of the receive system, and having a phase aligned multi-channel receiver is, I think, one direction and requirement that we need to address. And I think since the guys selling the Kraken with the RTL SDR are able to align those RTL SDRs, it seems like we ought to be able to do it between our
Yeah.
888s.
Same principle. Should be able to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's a I don't know. I don't know if maybe even the RF0 could be made to be useful in that. As a stimulus. We need, the idea being you take a little transmitter, with a little whip and stick it out near your antennas. And it's equidistant from the antennas. And it produces a stimulus signal that software can look for.
Well, we could actually just run a don't even need a directional coupler, but bleed a little signal into the input of each of the units.
But the thought was that if you actually transmit a little wideband signal, then he could compensate for all of the differences,
Yeah,
including the
including cable
difference of
differences, right?
the length of the cables to the antennas and so on. So that would that was the thought. I mean, in principle, it seems like it might work, but whether you can get a signal that's detectable. I mean, a single sample, 66 megahertz single sample pulse is going to produce very, very little energy in any frequency band. It will have a single, it's a noise source, a constant noise source, but it's 80, 100 dB down in any one frequency
the
band.
idea is you'd use for instance, a pseudo-random noise source and then correlate it.
Well,
then you can increase the effective power.
Well, he was, yeah, that's good. Well, I'll talk to Phil about it before we get going about it. It's he's the one that would, he knows more about signals processing and how to go about it than I do. So.
Yep. There's also another reason to push that along. I'm part of what's called, there's a spacecraft that's being proposed called Cinema, and we have a citizen science component called Movie that Nathaniel and Christina are also involved with. And we're in the process of setting up getting our proposal together. And that I would like to see us have the multi-channel available. So that might help push the personal space weather station version 2 along too. That would be, if gets funded, that would be in May.
Is there you're proposing a receiver for that?
Yes, this would have a receiver component.
Oh, is- well then, the power budget would be an issue.
Well, this isn't on the spacecraft. This is ground-based citizen research.
Oh, I see. Huh.
In conjunction, it's a adjunct to the spacecraft itself. The spacecraft is going to be studying the Earth's geotail and electron precipitation coming from it.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, good. Well, that's fine. Well, we're certainly proposing to add additional monitoring features to the Grape Whisper Demon Grape. I mean, uh, Phil has added now. He has added monitoring on. I don't know. I looked at one. I forget what he was looking at now. The DX, the FT8 or 4 DX channels, and he's added those to the to his default what he listens for. So there's something right now on the latest release of his software turns on about, I think, almost 100 channels that it's monitoring and outputting simultaneously. So there's actually quite a bit of processing horsepower available inside there, and many channels we can listen to simultaneously. So the ENAMS being the one that I'm interested in. Is Gary with us this morning, or is he? I didn't notice. He's
Nope.
on the list.
Oh,
No, Gary's on his way to
Yeah, that's what I
Scranton.
thought. Yeah.
So
I've got-
there's no science meeting this afternoon.
Okay.
okay. Did you have any updates on the Whisper Grape stuff, specifically deployment, I guess? Just because I know that there's a deadline there, and
Yes, that was what I was going to talk to him about. I confess I haven't I think I need some text from Gary, and I didn't contact them soon enough, so I better if he has, I may have to be the person to assemble the text for the proposals, and I need to talk to Gary. I think Nathaniel said Gary was the one who might have all the templates for what I need. I don't know if anybody has a photo of their Grape installation. That would be especially a photo that included the magnetometer. Both the antenna, and sensor systems out in the field and what you have inside your, that would be helpful to me. I don't have such an installation, but I think showing a photo that showed exactly what the equipment looked like would be a helpful part of communicating to candidate sites what they'd be receiving and deploying. So, so any photos, please email. If you have anything, email me. I'd appreciate that.
Rob, what do you want those photos to show? You want to show the individual hookups for each experiment, or?
I think just a couple of photos. One that showed, I mean, presumably the I don't know if yeah, I don't know how the Grape 1 or 2 antenna systems and sensors are deployed. If they're in one location in the field, just a photo of, okay, here's what what our antenna. Of course, if you have it depends if what kind of antennas are in use uh, for the shortwave reception. And WWV reception. But in ideally, you'd have a photo, and there would be a magnetometer tube going in the ground, and next to it an ELF antenna, and next to it a vertical or something monopole. So that would be. I don't think Michael has a magnetometer installed or an ELF antenna, so he isn't a good candidate for supplying a photo.
And
So
this should a whisper station specifically, the RX888.
it doesn't. I don't really. It's
There's
it's a great part of it. Yes, that would be. That'd be great.
Okay. You
Okay,
have
that's
web.
perfect. That's I mean, it's just not some indication of the
I've
the
seen that
size.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
well,
is sure.
that's good. Okay, I can get that out of your document. I guess I have access to it.
Yeah, it's also on the website in general so there's the Grape. So these are the web pages that Gary was updating recently, where we have the Grape 1 FL Digi stuff, which is really well labeled.
Oh, that's
It's like the original.
yeah.
I can make some pictures. I'm not sure how much they're going to show, but I can make some.
Give links to, because this one is from the general FL1 Digi overview that Gary just updated. And then there are some pictures of the ground magnetometer installation. I don't know if there's one. There are some also diagrams of where on the magnetometer side of the site, which might be helpful.
Hey, that's great. That's another one. That's perfect. That's
Really like these.
okay. Those are great.
This is also on the list.
Good, but that's fine. I didn't, as I say,
I should probably put this in not the section of minutes.
Yeah, that important calibrated rock on the cable is very, very.
I'll put it at the end.
That's probably a calibrated rock.
This one
I
is
think they call that a lodestone.
DRF
Oh,
page. Let's see. Yeah, but the pages that Gary's been updating are a real good source of information on all of this, because the diagrams have been on point.
Okay. Well, if you're putting them in your minutes document,
I
and
am,
and I have access to that, but let me go. I can go look at his.
but I'll leave the links and everything in case, because the new pages have a lot of description and everything on the project.
Well,
Okay.
all right. That's
But okay.
Got a quick side question for Rob. Were you referring to the tiny SA Ultra on the RNL website?
Yes, the Tiny SA Ultra, which is $135 or so from
Yeah,
R&L, and that's
100 kilohertz to 5.3 gig.
yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that is for $140. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, it's a Glenn, who's N6GN, who's the designer of the HP series of spectrum analyzers, um, retired now from HP, but you know, he says that basically he uses these tiny SA Ultras now. They match the performance of those, you know, big rack mount uh, devices that
Mhm.
he was designing back in the 80s. Yeah.
I've got a huge pile of HP Spectrum Analyzer, and I rarely use the thing. It's so
Yeah.
big and awkward and difficult to use.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I carry around now the field probe with the spectrum analyzer and nano VNA with the adapter cable to go to uh, my laptop computer. And I feel like I have all the test tools I need uh, for my work at this point. I was using most recently. I've been using them to transmit. I've started transmitting for the first time in 50 years, and I'm transmitting a whisper signal on the 22 meter ISM band, 20 milliwatts, and into a half-wave dipole reaches across the U.S. I'm picked up when the band is open, of course. It closes in the evening, but during the daytime, this is GPS disciplined, but it's an RF0, which has a GPS DO on it. So it's seems to be roughly compliant with the uh, emitted power intensity requirements of regulations. So it's just startling to see that people are receiving this signal two skip hops away. You know, the first hop happens all the time for, you know, 1,000 kilometers. That when the band's open, that sometimes I get, you know, very high SNRs, really good ones. The second hops, you know, are usually 20 dB weaker. But you know, in the last 12 hours, somebody received me in northern New York City, and Bill Englesby received me in Alabama, as did Michael in Missouri. So it's amazing. This is a dipole, full-size dipole, but it's just a little number 26 wire tacked to the side of my townhouse at a couple meters above the ground. So it's not a whisper sound, but it's amazing what you can do with this technology. Okay, we're running out of subjects.
Yeah, I was
Thank
gonna.
you. This has been very helpful for me. Thank you for
Yeah.
referring me to those illustrations. And
Is that the unit you're talking about?
yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think I got one.
Well, is that the regular tiny SA or the Ultra?
It's the Ultra.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
The only problem I have with it seems to be noisy below like a megahertz.
oh,
It's not
well,
good for
you
low band.
wait, even with a field probe in front of it, there's about 10 dB in the gain in the field probe.
Right. No, it's just its noise floor starts rising below megahertz or so.
Hmm. I hadn't studied it. Glenn is the expert. He's the one on who referred me to the Ultra.
No, I have one, of course, and it's a great little unit. Very, very useful. And as you say, along with the Nano VNA, you've got a pretty good test that up.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. I did notice that Kung is on.
yeah.
Really fast, Kung, do you have any update before we open the floor?
Yeah, a little bit. So I was trying to resample the Grape 2 DRF data because the regional 8 kilohertz bandwidth is a bit too much of a processing requirements for most of the commercial laptops and machines. I wasn't sure why my resample data was full of noise. Then I found out that I completely forgot to shift the signal, which was at 1 kilohertz down. So my resampling was completely, omitting the useful information. So now that I shifted that 1 kilohertz signal down to closer to around 10 hertz, now I'm able to actually resample the data and keep that original useful information without having that full bandwidth. So I'm getting real close to be able to for anyone to basically just to use the Grape 2 data for their plotting without needing an actual massive server for processing.
Okay. Very nice. I will reorganize that a little later. Any other questions, updates, or concerns? All right. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about? Okay. Would anyone like me to leave the Zoom meeting open for any discussions or anything? Okay. If not, I think that's everything we have for today.
Okay.
7.3s.
Goodbye, 73.
73.
88.